This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
It is the 27th of January. No, it's not.
And co-host Marnie Winfield.
Oh, shit.
Well, July, January, it's so close. It is the 27th of July, 2021. My name is Corey Winfield, and this is the 217 Recovery Podcast. Marnie is not with us today. Well, she's with us, just not in the studio. In the studio, sort of, through the phone, is my man, Jay, or actually you want to go by Johnathen Jeigh, right?
Johnathen Jeigh Dominick. I am the creator of Beautiful Life in Recovery Group. Yes, sir. Jay it is. That'll be easier for both of us.
The Beautiful Life in Recovery Group is on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Is it on Twitter and IG? And
I'm on Instagram. Yep. I do have a Twitter page. I have not been as active on that lately. I'm looking to change that. Just had a lot of stuff going on with life. But yes, I am on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I have a page and a group. The group is where you're going to see the most activity if you guys are interested. That's also where we have our support group. I also have a chat for people to join. They can reach me at any time if they're struggling, etc. So like I said, we're here to help people. And this guy that I'm talking to, Corey Winfield, amazing young gentleman that I met up in Paw, Michigan at the Recovery Rally 2021. So.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. And we met and we just kind of like connected. Like, I don't know, like that happens a lot in recovery because if you meet people that are all about it and for real about it, it's just like we could talk for days about recovery, you know, and share some of the same stories and just be kind of baffled by, like we were just talking off the air about relationships and stuff and about how similar some of the things that we were going through and what we were looking for. And I don't know if the same stuff got passed down through the lines, you know, like the 3 M's you were talking about, meetings, meditation, masturbation. I've heard that before. But as far as accepting the fact of, okay, I got to work on me first and getting to that point where you're like, I'm not going to settle. I know how I want to be treated. And this is what, boom, here it is. I'm worthy of the type of person that I want to be with. And Amen. You get to that level and you get to that point and then boom, God puts, here you go. You're like, thank you.
He does. I think he does show us when we're ready. If so long as we're willing to listen, I think that's a big thing, a lot of us. And when I say God, you know, to all those people out there who don't necessarily believe in God, when I say God, I'm referring to Mother Nature, your creator, whatever your higher power may be. Life, even, let's just say, will show you signs when you're ready. And I think it's very important that this topic gets discussed because I don't think it's discussed enough. And I think that the people in recovery and people struggling with mental issues and addiction issues, I believe we all tend to kind of get lonely sometimes. We all kind of tend to feel singled out in this world sometimes. And I think we tend to grasp onto anything that makes us feel a little less alone sometimes. And as much as, again, obviously we all understand this situation because I'm sure all of us have been through it or some facet of it. We also need to understand that we are enough for ourselves. And when we learn to love ourselves properly, when we learn to respect ourselves properly, when we learn to set a certain bar of standards for what we are willing to or not willing to accept in the manner of being treated and what we expect from others. And by expect from others, I mean what we expect is for our boundaries. Not because obviously we are in no place to expect someone else, you know, clean your own lane, don't worry about theirs. But you have to set the boundaries so that you can make sure somebody's not coming into your side of the street, so to speak, in a negative manner. So yeah, I think it's a topic that's not discussed enough. I think a lot of people don't know where to begin. They don't know where to even start considering if they're healthy enough for a relationship. So, well,
I can tell you one sign that you're not. It's if you put on Facebook, I'm so lonely and I want to be in a relationship so bad and that to me is a sign that you're not ready.
I would say that's a sign you're not ready because that to me it sounds like somebody's still struggling with codependency issues. In the sense of the fact they don't feel that they can handle this on their own. Like again, and we all get lonely sometimes, but you have to be able to. You know, it's kind of like a child. Here, I'm going to relate this to something a little different for normies out there even, also who might be listening. Normies is a term we use for non-addicted folk. which we are proud of you and we wish we had that. But to those who are addicted, to put it in another term, with children, when they cry. I don't know if anybody's had babies. If you haven't, I assure you this is true as true gets. If you coddle a child every time they cry, every time they're crying just because they're upset or want to be held, that child will grow up being codependent. They will grow up needing to have somebody else around to validate their feelings. And it sucks as a parent because once you learn this as a parent, because some people don't know this, but once you learn this as a parent, it's very hard to listen to somebody you care about cry, anybody, especially a child or a baby. But it's crucial that they learn how to self-soothe. So that's the point I was getting at, is we need as adults, as people as a whole, to be able to self-soothe ourselves. We have to be able to make ourselves understand that it's going to be okay if we just focus and keep doing the next right thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because if you start thinking about it, and I don't know when you started using substances to...
When I was 15.
Okay, so I don't know how many relationships you had before that, before you started using, but like back when I was in junior high school, there was a couple girls in the school that I could have pursued, but I don't want to. You know, like it's kind of the same thing, except we get clouded now because now you take the addiction, like you said, the loneliness, and we all want somebody to be with. Now we take those women and it's like, okay, I'll go to them now because they'll accept me and they will say yes. Even though before I was using, you know, I had a problem with alcohol, I would never have even called those people. But now it's like, oh, but they're around. Yeah, but you don't like her. Or you're not attracted to her. Oh, but it doesn't matter. They say yes. You know, they'll put up with me and they understand I'm broken. So that's fine. And that's not what we want. Trust me. You can try it out, but it's not going to be something that's going to be good. In my opinion, as a professional radio broadcaster, I wouldn't do it because if somebody, let's just take an example here. If you're waiting at a restaurant, you're supposed to meet said date and you wait and 30 minutes goes by, 40 minutes, an hour, and you put up with that. And then said person gets there or she calls you or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, I was busy trying to get some weed. And I don't know, you're in Wisconsin now, right? But you're from Illinois?
Yes, sir. Janesville, Wisconsin, but I lived in Illinois from Chicagoland most of my life.
Okay, I don't know how weed is over there, but in Michigan, it's pretty accepted.
It's in Illinois, it's actually legal recreationally and medically. And for those who are in recovery with that, I do not oppose it. Your recovery is your recovery. Everyone works a different one. Just wanted to get that out there. Everyone's welcome on my page.
Yep. I'm pretty much the same way. I can't smoke weed because it leads me to drinking. And I've already tried that, been there, done that. And for me, it's just not worth it. But yeah,
that's completely understandable, man. If I'm going to be full disclosure here, because I've been talking a lot with Maggie Jablonski, I have a card. I have medical marijuana. I cannot use opiates. I am one of the fortunate people that was never a gateway drug for me. But because I can't use opiates and I have a lot of lower back problems from the long-term opiate use, by lower back, it will degrade your spine over long-term use. So my discs are basically, one of these days I'm going to end up having to have surgery and I'll probably end up in a wheelchair. But the only pain relief I can get is medical marijuana. So,
have you tried sex?
Sex? I've tried sex, and that was over a year ago, though, because, again, I've been focusing on me with them 3 M's. Thank you again. Thank you, Johnny Wyrick from Chicago Hope Dealers, because he's the one that told me that, and I can tell you that is the best advice I ever actually listened to. Nice. Well, other than getting clean, of course.
Right. And so let's jump off the sex and go back into Johnny, because in the whole relationship talk, let's jump off that real quick, because you have such a interesting story about how you got to the pawpaw in the Recovery Zone rally.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to tell that, because there's something I want to kind of add to that for other people.
Absolutely, man. So we'll just start off with a little backstory. I'm not going to go too much into my life story, but we'll at least give a general basis for those who have not heard it on a different platform. So when I was younger, I was molested terribly for about 8 years, almost daily. The molestation actually wasn't even the bad part. Believe it or not, that would have been the part I would have asked for. And by asked for, I mean compared to the rest of what I went through. Psychological and physical torture everything from electrode probes to waterboarding to being lit on fire but put out before it could actually leave physical damage to the skin. There was terrible things that I went through. But so fast forward a little, my grandmother died. She was kind of my safe haven. This is when I was 15. In the same year, I caught my father cheating on my mother. They got divorced, obviously. And I went to working 3 jobs to take care of my brother's sister and my mother, because my mother was having a substance abuse problem with alcohol at the time. She just was so broken from what happened that she just didn't know how to come back from it. And so I was taking care of them, and that's when my heroin and crack addiction started. The crack addiction was so I could stay awake. The heroin was so I could come down and not to go to sleep. I made good money, so my habit wasn't a problem for many years. I was what they call, which I think is a completely contradictory term now that I'm in recovery, but I'm going to use it because it's a general term people will understand, and that is a quote-unquote functioning addict, which, again, is an oxymoron in and of itself, but that is what I was, again, by generalized standard terms. So I worked like that many years. I was able to hide my habit from everybody for probably almost 12 years before, like always, our habit will eventually exceed our means. And it will. Someday it will progress to a point you can't afford it, and you will do things that you thought you would never do to afford it. So fast forward a little bit through all the other stuff, and now we place myself in Chicago, LSSI, great detox center for anybody in that area. If you want a detox where you'll be comfortable, have cigarette breaks. The food is amazing. The chef there is just incredible. But LSSI Detox, I go there to detox for the first time ever. And I have a speaker come in and speak to me. This speaker happens to be Johnathen Jeigh, and that is before he relapsed. So this is even before the Chicago Hope Dealers existed. So this man was the first person to put me on the road to recovery and make me actually intrigued enough, because I'm looking at this guy across from me, and he's got tats, which if anybody's seen his tats, beautiful ink, has tats all over. And it was his persona. If you've ever met Johnny, or if you haven't, definitely go watch this young man. He has a way of capturing you when he talks. And he started off, the first thing he says, I'm allergic to drugs. I cannot use them. He said, because every time I do, I break out in court cases and handcuffs. And when he said that, it stuck like glue. To this day, I have not been able to get it out of my head, because all I could do is relate, like, wow, that pretty much sums it up. And now, granted, I get out of detox, and of course, you know, even though I was toying with the idea of getting clean, I just went to detox to appease everyone and not be physically sick. So, of course, I get out and I go running and gunning for a few more years. And we can fast forward up to last year. So I would have had 2 years clean time this April 23rd, but I relapsed on January 5th one time. Ended up flushing everything, calling my mother right after using it, restarted over, and I started my Facebook group basically within like a day or two afterwards. But so fast forward, when I started my group, all of a sudden I see this guy, and I couldn't remember that guy's name for the life of me from when he came and spoke to me. I see his guy, I saw the tattoos, and immediately I was like, oh, I know this guy. And then all of a sudden I see he's got almost 5 years clean, and he's running Chicago Hope Dealers. And then I get linked up at that time frame last year, probably right around August-ish, right after I left my the person I was very, very much in love with at the time, or so I thought, as we were discussing. And I started listening to Drew, and he kind of kept me on that path. Because, again, I'd been kind of getting to that border during that time frame from dealing with the relationship and other things in life to where I'd wanted to use. So I was trying to be in the recovery community, talking to them. And fast forward now to Papua. So the other day, I really wanted to go to this event. I've been trying to get to one of these events to see all these people I care so much about in recovery. And I ended up having to. I took off work, which that was kind of that was fun little time. I'm a chef, so I work a lot. But I got off work. I took a car from Janesville, Wisconsin. This was 11 at night after I got off a 12-hour shift, and that was after working almost 60 hours the 3 days prior. And I took that car and sat overnight in a parking lot in Algonquin, Illinois. And when my brother's wife got off work, they drove me over to Elgin because she works third shift. So he sat in the car with me to make sure this could happen. They drove me to Elgin to Johnny Wyrick's house. And Johnny and Myra were kind enough to drive me all the way up to Michigan. and helped me with the motel. My admin and I split a motel fee, and I'm going to bring acknowledgement to her. My admin, Angela Dickey, had even gone one step further. She suffered almost 24 hours in total of getting off and on of trains and Ubers to get up there. She came from Springfield, had to go to Chicago over to Kalamazoo, Uber over to Pawpaw. So we met up, we split a motel, and had one of the best weekends of my life up there. And to anybody in recovery who tries to say, well, I can't, or I don't know how to make it work, I'm going to say something. I hope I can say this, because now actually here, I'll switch it up a little bit. Bullcrap. That's what I'm going to say. It's an excuse. Any one of you who have been in real active addiction have probably at some point in time walked 8 to 12 hours, probably even just to get something as small as a 20 bag. I know because I've done it. I walked 16 hours once to do that. Sick. Dope sick. Completely dope sick. Like, the extent that I went through for my drug use, a lot of people will not go through for their recovery. And I think that this is detrimental, and I definitely want to bring this up because your recovery has to be something you want even more than that drug. It has to be something that comes first and foremost in your life. My daughter and kids actually suffer a little bit, but they understand because they understand that my recovery group and the people that need me and the people that I need, they have to come first, because without my recovery, everything else will be taken from me. If it is not the first, foremost priority in my life, I will lose the rest of it. And I can assure you guys, as hard as it can be sometimes to make yourself get up, as hard as it can be to walk that hour to get to a meeting, you've walked further for drugs, and you did it when you weren't healthy. You're getting healthy if you're in recovery, physically speaking, and mentally speaking for that matter. You need to make those meetings. And now, like, for example, my life, I don't have a lot of time for meetings because I run my recovery group, but my recovery group is much like an AA group for me. I am constantly trying to help others, and they are trying to help me. When I have a bad day, I go to my group. So it's the equivalent of AA for me. But the point is, whatever your recovery may be, whether it's a 12-step program, whether it's church, whether it's meditation, whether it's taking time out of your day just to do a hobby that's healthy and constructive, anything it takes, and I mean anything it takes, to stay on that road and to fulfill commitments, in your own life. Like, I can't stress enough how important it is. Like, you got to make it work. It doesn't matter how hard it is. You have to. It's crucial. Sorry, I didn't mean to rant for that.
No, you're good. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to make, because there are a lot of people here in Traverse City that were like, oh man, I want to go, but I don't have a ride. And it's 3 hours away. And then I meet you and you're like, oh man,
6 hours in the car.
You're like, I went from here to here to here to boom. Now I'm here. And yeah. And that's insane, and these people are like, oh yeah. And some of them, I know, and they're just like, oh man, I'm killing it in my recovery. I'm like, oh, are you? Yeah, man, I'm living in a sober living house. Oh, okay, cool. Like, well, how are you killing it? Well, I go to 5 meetings a week. Oh, well, how many do you have to go to? Well, 5. Oh, boy, you're killing it, ain't you? It just, but it gets people get in that mindset of they really think they're doing something. It's like, okay, well, what else you doing? What do you mean?
What are you doing to work on you?
I'm working the steps. Yeah, okay, that's cool. But like, what else are you doing? Well, I mean, I got a job. No, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to get that purpose?
What are you doing to find that passion in your life?
Did I already say I go to work? And it's just like, bro, like what else are you doing? There's a soup kitchen in town. There's a Salvation Army right down the road. Every day at noon, you can go down there and say, hey, I want to help. They'll let you.
They'll let you.
There's so many things that you can do. And like starting the Beautiful Life in Recovery group is kind of similar to me starting the 217 Recovery. We do the podcast because for me, that's a hobby and it's fun. And then I found out, oh, wait, people listen and it helps them. Oh, okay. Even better. That's a win-win. And probably same thing with you. Like, man, I'm going to start something. That way it's going to hold me accountable. It's going to give me a purpose, and starting the group, I think, was a very, very wise choice for you. And then
I think it literally changed my life, man.
Yeah. And you realize, oh, wow, it helps people. And it doesn't matter if you have 800,000 followers. It doesn't matter if you have 2.
If I can make a difference in one person's life, That's my goal. Like, and that's grand if I can affect 600, or if I can affect 800,000 someday. That'd be, absolutely stellar. Because obviously, the more addicts we reach, the more children are saved. And what I mean by that is, my recovery is definitely important for me, but it's not me I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about future generations. I mean, we've hit a point that this addiction is becoming, I wouldn't even say a pandemic or another. I would say it's flat out apocalyptic. We have an entire generation. I mean, and we're starting to kill the stigma now. Don't get me wrong. We're definitely starting to reach people. But, I mean, as a whole, this generation, where it was headed or where it potentially could be headed is devastating to humanity as a whole. I mean, you're not just talking about addicts. I mean, you're talking about, let's say, again, I won't lie, I don't know the numbers. Let's just say out of 100 million people, if that's how many were in the world, and obviously there's more than that, but let's just say there was 100 million. If 2 million of them are addicted, you're talking 2 million people. That's not 2 million lives affected. That's 2 million addicts. That's another, well, let's say the average person probably deals with maybe 15, 20 people on a daily, like that they really deal with, between coworkers and stuff. So that's 20 more people that are affected by the addiction. That's 20 more people that maybe they had gotten out of addiction. Now they're possibly going to relapse because of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's an exponential number is the problem. And, so if I can reach one, maybe I prevented 4. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so my only goal is reaching one person. My daughter and I had this talk the other day because she had come up to me and she's like, "Hey, Dad," she's like, "Can I spend some time with you? You've been on your phone a lot with the group." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm sorry, Kill." I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make some time for you." I said, "But you gotta give me like 20 minutes." I said, "Because this person's struggling." And she's like, "I know, but I really want to spend time with you." I said, "I know." I said, "I'm gonna put it in a different view, baby." I said, "If he has a daughter like you," said, "would you want to make sure that Daddy stayed clean for his daughter?" She's like, "Well, yeah, of course." I said, "That's the reason Daddy's on the phone. I know you take a back burner sometimes." I said, "But me making sure that little girl doesn't have her daddy go back to using again." I said, "Your daddy's doing good. Your daddy's, I'm rock solid now. I got God. I want to help someone else get rock solid." I say, even if it's one person. Because if I can affect one person and that person can affect one person, again, it's exponential. So I agree. It doesn't matter how many followers you got. Just reaching one person. If I can make somebody smile when they were just down, like, I don't even need to get somebody into recovery. If I can just make somebody smile once in a day, it can literally change the world, man.
Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with my neighbor. We got back from Pawpaw and we're unloading the car or whatever. And she comes out and she's like, "So what are you guys doing? And we're unloading stuff. What, you want to help, And she's like, "What is this 217 recovery stuff I'm seeing everywhere, And I kind of started in and was telling her a little bit, and she was talking about how her past relationships, there was using and drinking and stuff like that going on, and that person had went to AA, and then we started into this conversation about AA, and I told her that I felt comfortable when I was doing the podcast. When I started the podcast, I stopped hiding the fact that I had a problem with alcohol. And it was so refreshing. And it was
liberating.
It was so liberating, man. It was refreshing. It was liberating. It was a miracle of God. Like, I just stepped out of the shadows, like, boom, here it is. And I didn't have to hide that anymore. And I know people in AA and they love it. And I love going to meetings, and I don't see anything wrong with AA. I think it's great. But the whole, like, we can't tell nobody that we have a problem, I think that kind of sets us back a little bit. And I might get some backlash for that, but that's my opinion.
No, hey, bro, if you're going to get the backlash, I will too. I'm in 100% agreement with you. Absolutely 100% agreement. Because I meet random strangers on the bus, and they'll, like, look at me and be like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And, we'll get to talking, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I was a 21-year heroin junkie. I run a recovery group now. If you know anybody, struggling or even mental problems, et cetera," because that is actually one little thing I want to clarify quick before I get back to the bus story, is my group is not just for recovery from drugs. Yes, that is a big focus because I believe a lot of people who are recovering from trauma will turn to drugs. Mm-hmm. But my group is to recover from life itself. And what I mean by that is traumas you've experienced, drug use, alcohol use, any kind of negative thing, codependency. Like, if you are struggling with something in your life that you need to recover from, if you are having something that is weighing on you daily that you need to talk about, we are there for you. That is what my group's for. It is not just for addicts. Yes, it is a lot of addicts in there, and I definitely want every addict I can get on that page
but it is for anybody recovering from any kind of trauma. That's why I chose the name, A Beautiful Life in Recovery, because if you can work at recovering from those traumas, it is a beautiful life. Now, I will digress back to that bus thing, though, but yes, I do agree with you 100% that, no, it needs to be open. It needs to be shouted about, basically, from the rooftops, so to speak. Like, there's that saying that's going around. It's a very common saying. Everyone sees it, but it's so true. I recover loudly so someone else doesn't die silently.
Right.
And I don't care the flack I get or the looks I get. That's another thing you're going to have to work on in your recovery is there's going to be a lot of doubters, haters, people skeptical. That's their side of the street. Worry about your own. Yep. Like, you know what you're doing. You know what you're not doing. Keep doing that and don't worry about others. Like, it's going to be rough because a lot of people care about others' opinion. I was blessed and born where I didn't, but a lot of other people do. So yes, work on that, but go ahead. My fault.
So when I was first introduced to AA, it was like Alcoholics Anonymous. I can be anonymous. Like, they were pretty much teaching me, like, don't tell nobody about this. And I think that probably kept me a little stuck for a while because it was the secret that I had to keep, you know, and like, oh, I can't tell nobody. Meanwhile, when I would relapse and go on Facebook, everybody knew anyway. So I was only creating more pain for myself. Now, if there was other options out there, and I'm sure there are, you know, where people can go and be like, hey, recovery out loud is something that I'm familiar with. And it's just like, okay, cool. Like you don't have to hide from it. And I think when you and I both talk about future generations, those are the ones that we're talking about. Those are the ones that we want to help is my nephews. Absolutely. And my nephew's kids. They're 6 now, but you know, they're going to have a time in their life where they come face to face with drugs. And probably when they're 18, 16, their first drug's going to be alcohol. And they might even be faced with it now, you know. I
was about to say, that's the part that scares me, man. I would actually be a little more okay with it if it wasn't until 16 or 18. I mean, I heard a case the other day up here in town. Some young man at 12 years old decided that he was going to do heroin with his friends, and he passed away from it. He's no longer here, and now there's a parent mourning a 12-year-old from a heroin loss. That is just, I won't lie, even to me, that seems crazy. Like, that's it's like I said, man, this is becoming apocalyptic, dude. Like, so I'll share something I normally wouldn't share because it involves someone else, but this happens to be somebody I can make that choice for. It's my daughter. And I know she's okay with me sharing it. I've already discussed this with her the other day because I was going to do a post on my page, or on my group, I should say, pardon me. I was going to do a thing on my group. I was going to do a live, but currently I'm blocked from doing lives. I'm working on correcting this. Neither here nor there. I just had my father locked up on 2 Class X felonies for molesting my daughter. My daughter has been struggling emotionally severely lately, and this is the reason that I stress to everybody that we need to get people in recovery, because now my daughter is very fortunate that I've been in recovery now that when this happened, like when I got custody of her, because it was, like I said, blessing after blessing. Unfortunately, the catalyst was terrible, but blessing after blessing. And I've been working with her, making her go to therapy. Like, even on days she doesn't want to, like, I'll tell the therapist, hey, maybe you want to make it a little more fun today, but like, I make her go to therapy. I've been talking to her myself, like, and I've been trying to teach her that just because she suffered through that, and again, when I say trauma, everybody's pain is different. Nobody can compare pain. So just because you weren't molested does not mean you cannot relate on the level of pain from a trauma that you experienced, whether it was a death or other. Again, trauma is trauma. The catalyst for the trauma is honestly irrelevant. It's much like addiction. It doesn't matter what you're addicted to, you're addicted. Whether it's to working out, eating, or drugs, addiction is addiction. It's a thinking problem. It's the same thing with trauma. It's a thinking problem. Our bodies put us into a trauma response that, sadly, even though somebody else did that, we have got to figure out how to come back from it. Again, now my daughter has me, but this is why I can't stress enough that you guys need to be in recovery, because this little girl is looking up to me to see how I'm going to handle life situations. She's going to look and see if Daddy gets stressed, is he going to go to drugs? Or if Daddy gets stressed, is he going to sit there and go to church? Is he going to sit there and pray about it? Is he going to sit there and get off my butt and do something about it, as opposed to just sit there and sulk and get in my own feelers, as people say? Mm-hmm. You know, Drew Hicks, another good friend of mine, always says, don't get caught up in your feelings. And it's the truth. You can't sit there and dwell. It's okay to experience feelings. It's actually crucial. Don't try to not cry. Don't try to not be angry. Let those emotions come out, but give a time limit to it. Say, okay, I'm gonna deal with this and experience this emotion, you know, this really intense emotion. But after 10 minutes, I'm going to start figuring out solutions. You know, whatever your time frame may be. It might be an hour, it might be a day. But the point being, set a time frame where I'm going to process this. I'm going to grieve over this, and then I'm going to move on from this, and I'm going to figure out how to fix this. And it's crucial that we do this. No, it's not fair. It's not fair that life hands us shit hands, and by life handing us shit hands, I mean that bad things happen that we don't know how to deal with. Unfortunately, even though some people put us in those positions, it's up to us and no one else to fix it. Once we can acknowledge that there's a problem of any kind, whether it be a mentally thinking problem, an addiction problem, or other, it is up to us to fix it. You know, it's like having something broken in the house. It's not your neighbor's job to fix the things broken. It's yours. Like, you got to own up to the things, you know. You got to take care of your own life. Can't rely on other people to do that. Now, you can rely on a network to help you do so, and I strongly recommend that. But you got to be able to do it on your own when push comes to shove. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the whole something in your house is broken because your neighbor, you know, and like you said, with the network of people, something like if my refrigerator breaks down, I don't know how to fix it. My neighbor can come over and, you know, give me some parts. I can call the people who make the refrigerator and they can say, hey, here's what you need. Here's what you can do. And here's your options. But it's up to us to not freak out, throw all of our food out of the window, call cussing at other people, you know, like taking it out of everybody else, or just saying, F it. I need to feel better. And our brains, the way they work, and kind of like you said earlier about just becoming aware of your surroundings, like your daughter, if she sees how you react, okay, cool. So, and a lot of people think this like about spanking too. Like if you spank your child, you're teaching your child that when you're mad, you use anger. You know, you use physical violence against somebody. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying stuff that I've heard. But you know, your brain just becomes boom. Okay, this is how I react, and slowing that down to just go, well, let me take a minute. And yeah, I feel frustrated when my fridge breaks down. Because you know why? And I sometimes I might even feel angry, but it's not really anger. It's disappointment. It's like, oh my God, like, yeah, I'm going to lose food. My wife's not going to eat. You know, what are we going to do? That's a waste of money. Those are what I'm really feeling. You know, it's not really, I'm not angry at the refrigerator. It's the refrigerator. You know, it did nothing to me. It just stopped working. That's what happens over time. It's
just the frustration that life didn't deal you the perfect hand.
Yeah, well, how come it didn't happen to my neighbor? It's happening to me. I don't know. It's not up to me to understand that, man. You know, like I don't no clue. And you know, the emotional part of it, you know, is the whole like, oh no, my wife and everybody they're going to be let down because Daddy didn't fix it, and oh man, how am I going to react to this? And you know, it's okay to understand and feel that pressure and that need, but you know, what are your options? And
exactly, it's how you handle it. You're like you said that perfectly. It's okay to feel it, but it's not okay to sit there and just use it as an excuse, I guess would be the most simple way with it.
Right. But
like you said, you know, you could choose to throw your food out of the fridge and get angry and break stuff in your house, or you can choose to be like, all right, fridge needs to get fixed. What's my next step?
But I think the crucial part that a lot of people in early recovery and active addiction completely miss is the fact that we have to slow it down, because if you've been drinking for 20 years, you've been using for 20 years, whatever, boom, brain goes right there, man. Because the brain, it doesn't, as crazy as it is, the brain doesn't think. The brain just says, do this.
Yep.
And
it just does naturally.
And we go back to drinking. And then we're like, why did we go back to drink? Because that's our soul speaking, you know, like, why did I ever drink? Why did I do this? Why? That's your soul.
Yep.
Your brain just goes, click, do it. And because it wants immediate, it wants, okay, we're feeling bad. Let's fix this. I know how to fix it. You know, and some people, it can be food. It could be alcohol. It could be a number of things, gambling, you know, and I like that your group, Beautiful Life and Recovery, is more than just, you know, drugs or substance use. It's everything, because everything in life can lead to bad and worse things. And
absolutely, man. Addiction's not addiction. What it is it's a trauma response.
Yep.
It's our brain saying, this is my comfort level. This is how I know how to deal with it. I'm going to go to that route, you know, and the problem is it's very hard. And anybody who's out there in early recovery, none of us in recovery, not one of us, is going to tell you anything about it's going to be easy. Nothing about it's going to be easy. It ain't going to be simple. Actually, at times it's probably going to feel harder. But if you keep making that next right choice, it will get easier. It won't feel that way at first, but it will get easier. What I mean by easier is I saw something the other day in a meme, and I thought it just, I mean, perfect, man. Perfect, because it's so true. I never really thought of it that way until I read it. And it says, when you take it easy, life makes it harder. When you work harder, life makes it easier. And it's so true that even though it seems harder, because again, you have to work at it.
Right.
It becomes easier because you're working at it. If you're not working at it, life ain't going to give it to you. It's just going to get harder. The problems will compound. And it's crucial to acknowledge this in our recovery, that basically if we're slacking, if we're being complacent, if we're being lazy, it's going to end up in a bad place. Now, I'm not saying you'll relapse. Pray to God that you don't. But it's definitely going to put you closer to that edge where it's going to be a possibility. Like, it's got to be something that you're diligent. That's what I was looking for. That you're diligent about. You have to be diligent in your recovery. You have to be on point, and it has to be a consistent thought in your format. No different than that substance was. Like, one of the things I do is if a substance, like thinking about using, comes back in my head, it doesn't happen very much anymore, I won't lie. But again, I'm human. Time to time, I get overwhelmed, and it's like, man, that'd be nice. And then I have to check myself, and it's like, well, would it be nice?
Yeah.
Last time you did it, you got dope sick, you committed 6 felonies, allegedly. You ripped off your family, and you disappointed 6 people. You lost custody of a child. Like, is it worth it? Is that comfort for that short period of time really worth it? And it's not. It's not. And if you can ground yourself for just a few minutes and get your brain back, it can be crucial to your recovery. Like, man, isn't there just so much to say about recovery? We ain't got enough time in the world, man.
Right.
So much advice to give, and there's just not enough time in the world to give it.
No, there's not. But one thing, though, I do want to say, and you were talking about your relapse back in January, is how quickly you came back from that. Because it's easy to get sucked right back in, and you feel ashamed of what's going on and what you just did. And nope, you got to keep moving forward, man. That just happened. And, that's in the past now. Let's move it forward.
Absolutely, dude. And the ashamed thing, you were right, I was. And it's actually because I felt that is exactly why I think it was within like 5 days I went live on one of Drew Hicks's Clean and Sober What's Up lives, and I went and I made sure to tell everybody in the community, hey, I relapsed the other day. I want to come on here and acknowledge it. I'm back on track, and I think we need to do that. And like when you were saying to recover loudly, or at least not recover silently. You ain't got to recover loudly. It's not for everybody. And it's not, because again, it does catch a lot of flack, and unless you're a strong person who has a thick skin, it can be kind of rough to deal with sometimes. I'm one of those people that I'd rather eat a bowl of water with a fork before I ever gave a crap about someone's opinion, but not everyone's born that way. So when I say recover loudly, I just mean don't be silent about it. It can be your personal network. It can be one person, like a sponsor or a best friend, but you need somebody that can hold you accountable. You need somebody that can sit there and acknowledge your bad habits or your what's the word I'm looking for? Like where you're kind of starting to walk that path again. You know what I mean? You're not necessarily at relapse, but that relapse before relapse time. When you're starting to get in that negative thought process, and the people close to us or the people that we deal with every day can notice those things when we don't. Yeah. And it's crucial that you acknowledge it and, like I said, own up to it. And I had to. And again, it was embarrassing, especially going on his page, because as you know, that guy has at any given time 200 plus people watching him. Like, it was hard, especially knowing that a lot of the people from my admin group are in that live. But again, it is crucial, man. Like you said, like you were saying, dude, you can't hide about it. You gotta bounce back from it. Just because you relapse don't mean you have to stay there.
No.
You can come back from it immediately. Yes, we all make mistakes. The point is acknowledging them, owning up to them, and then again, that whole thing with the fridge. What's the next step to get back where we need to get?
Yeah, that's for sure, man. Because those relapses can be very detrimental, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean you don't want it. Because I wanted it. When I first met you and Johnny outside, I was saying, yeah, I've been to treatment 15 times, and I thought I was the king of relapse. But I kept trying, man, and I was getting up on it and let's go again. Let's figure this out. And each time I learned a little bit more. I was just too stubborn and just thought, okay, I got it this time. Like, all right, cool. I'm like that with homework too. Like, oh, the class is 8 weeks. Oh, that means I only really need to do 2 weeks, and I'll just cram it all in at the end because I don't need all the other stuff from people. I can get it real
read
quick.
That book in 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, just give me the end stuff, thanks. I don't need the other stuff. I just the end stuff. My brain is full of too much crap already. It's like, but that's the problem. Is recovery isn't like that. You know, it's different for everybody, but just know that not giving up is the way to keep going.
Amen, man. That's all you guys got to do. It's progress, not perfection. Even getting a single day sober, if you struggle and relapse and you can't stop using in like 24 hours as long as you've ever been sober, that's progress. Now, again, I recommend try for day 2 and 3 and 4 and et cetera. But that's progress, man. You know, it's progress, not perfection. You know, again, I'm with you. I agree with AA in the sense of fact, I think it does wonders for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I actually do enjoy AA meetings, but again, I do also I get very torn about a lot of these things. Like the reason I started my page is I noticed that there's a lot of little things, small things about other pages that I didn't care for. What I mean by that is like, and it's simple things, but it's things I felt weren't tolerant enough. Like another thing I'm going to say is if you have a page out there, if you have a group out there, you are welcome to promote anything you want on my page so long as it has to do with recovery. That's all I ask. You have t-shirts that are recovery based and you want to sell them, post on my page, please. You have hats you want to sell. You have an event you want people to come to. Again, I stress, so long as it has to do with recovery from trauma, abuse, drugs, anything of the sort, post on my page, please. You are more than welcome to post on my page. My only goal in this is to get the word spread. And I've noticed a lot of people have issue with that, and that's okay. Again, their pages are their page. I still promote them because their page is about recovery. So sometimes I promote pages without them asking. But I noticed that. I noticed a lot of people were intolerant of alternative forms of recovery, i.e. marijuana, Suboxone, what's the other one? Subutex, methadone even. Again, now some of them I don't personally agree with, and I would have reasons. Anybody who has questions can get at me. But if that recovery works for you, if that's keeping your life on track, if that's making it so you're not making poor decisions and you're healthy and getting happier and you're there for the people around you, then by all means, I encourage you to keep doing it. Do not listen to others' opinions about you. Do not listen to the fact they don't agree with that form. Not everybody agrees that you believe in God, but you still believe, right? So keep believing in yourself. Don't worry about others' opinions. If it's working for you, you keep working it, and you keep working it, and keep working it. I'm there for everybody, anybody, always. I believe there's still a room at the top of my page also. If anybody needs to talk, you're struggling, you hit that room button, it will automatically call my phone. If I don't answer right away, keep calling my phone. It's because I did not hear it. No matter how busy I am at work, my job even knows that when I'm on the phone with recovery somebody, I'm not getting off the phone until they are ready and until they are in a good place. So you never bother me 24 hours a day. Anybody out there, that includes you, Corey, not that you're struggling, you should be in a great place. But again, life hands us big hands sometimes. Sometimes we need someone else to hold the cards with us. So I'm there for anybody out there. For sure, man. Anybody's welcome on my page. So long as, again, don't say anything negative about anybody or their recovery. And other than that, make it recovery-based or inspirational-based. Doesn't even need to be recovery. Inspirational, motivational. Anything to cheer somebody up or make a day better.
I love it, man. I love it. Thanks, Jay. I know you got to go. You got to get to work, but beautiful Life in Recovery group. It's on Facebook. And, yeah, I might use that button sometime. You never know, man. And I appreciate you extending that to me as well.
Of course, bro. We all struggle, man. Hey. I'm here for Drew Hicks, Johnny Ware. Again, any human being out there struggling in any shape, way, or form. No, I'm not a certified professional, but I do have an extensive knowledge in recovery, addiction, anatomy, just human beings as a whole, the way we work, the way we think. Again, I'm not a professional. I cannot stress it enough, but I can give you good advice, and if you need professional help, I can assure you with the network of people I have, I will get you help one way or the other. I actually helped get somebody in Africa into a recovery. I've helped people on my page get in England into recovery. We have resources. We have people with resources. If I don't personally have them, I assure you I will be able to help you. We will work around it, whether you have insurance or not. Like I said, we will figure something out. I know people to sponsor people into. So don't let money or embarrassment stop you. Please, please, please reach out before you don't have a chance.
Well, thanks, Johnathen Jeigh. I appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Win a bunch of free shit from 217 Recovery. Go to the app or the website, 217recovery.com.